Hey there, Unsolved Mysteries fans, Wayward Legacy back at you with another video. So, as I had stated in a couple of videos ago, or a few videos ago, something like that, I said I was going to start doing cases, that I had never watched on Unsolved Mysteries. And that's basically because, as everybody knows, which is the reason why I started doing this series, finding Unsolved Mysteries is pretty limited. There's some stuff out there on YouTube. There's some stuff you can find online, but other than that, it's pretty limited, which, like I said, is why I do this series, but also just because of my passion for the show and how much I like these cases and how much they interest me and stuff like that. But this case I had never actually seen until tonight, and I kind of read over the article briefly. But I haven't really, come up with a theory or anything like that. So pretty much, the theory is pretty much going to be kind of off the top of my head and kind of not. I kind of have a general idea of the theory in my head, that I'm leaning towards. But yeah, this is the case of Donald Kemp. It took place in 1982, so about 30-something years ago. So as usual, I'm just going to get into it right now, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it and my theories, and here we go. After a debilitating traffic accident, Donald Kemp changed his mind about returning to his Madison Avenue position. Choosing to write a book about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, he sold nearly everything he owned and traveled out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, but he never made it. Kemp's abandoned SUV was found deserted by patrolman Randy Teeters and idling on an on-ramp 40 miles from any town, with his belongings strewn around it. A solitary set of footprints departed from it in the snow. A search was made for the disoriented Kemp, but no trace of him was found. His duffel bag with a few personal items was found nearby, and an attempted campfire 6 miles away inside a barn with 3 of Kemp's socks was also found. Don's mother was convinced that her son had been abducted. 3 years later, Don's remains were found a few miles from where his SUV was found. It was believed that he had died in the recent blizzard, but recent sightings had placed Don in Cheyenne and in Casper while he would have been dead. One of Don's friends, who wished to remain anonymous, they called her Sally in this episode, claims that she got a call from Don. Sally said that she is absolutely certain that it was really his voice, and it was a brief message stating that he will speak to her again, and left a phone number. The next day, Sally called the number and asked to speak to Don. A man answered the phone and said that Don was out. Sally, convinced that the caller is convinced that the caller holds the clue to what really happened to Don. Telephone records traced to a trailer. The owner of the trailer claimed that he had no knowledge of Donald Kemp. 3 weeks after his interrogation, that man had vanished, along with any knowledge of what really happened to Donald Kemp. Now, the results of this are still unresolved. Unfortunately, Mary Kemp passed away in 2014. Now, this is, like I say all the time when I do cases like this is one of those cases that I really enjoy that were on the show, just because there's so many different theories, or there's a few different theories, or a couple different theories that one could go with. Now, obviously the first one you could go with foul play. This guy who owned the trailer that apparently Don had called from disappeared 3 weeks after the interrogation with police. Now, that's really kind of eerie and interesting as well. The fact that the guy would just disappear right after, well, not right after, but a few weeks after he was questioned by the cops. Also, the fact that Don had apparently called from the trailer, and then when Sally called the next day, claimed that Don was out. So it's interesting. You could go with the foul play theory, but that's not what I'm going to go for. Now, it's obviously possible that that could have happened, but I'm gonna lean towards this one, which is basically, I think, you know, what he was doing was he got stuck in the weather because there was a blizzard out, right? And obviously, you know, this is 1982, so there was no cell phones back then. I don't think cell phones actually came out, at least till like till at least the late 80s, maybe. I don't know. At least the first cell phone, and you know, I wasn't born in that decade or anything, so I don't really know how good those cell phones were back then. But anyway, that's kind of besides the point. So at this time, there was no cell phones or anything back then. So basically, what he was probably doing was he probably had some sort of like, he could have had like a phone book or some kind of you know, book with his contacts in it that he had written down, and you know, basically he was trying to find this thing, and that's, you know, why his things got scattered around the vehicle and stuff like that. And you know, what I think happened is he had you know, kind of walked and trekked his way through the blizzard, you know, to that cabin, and you know, attempted to start a fire, but when that didn't work, he decided to go back, because obviously he couldn't go to you know, the storm might have been too much for him to actually, you know, try and attempt to find some sort of payphone or something like that. And so, you know, he made his way back to, or maybe he tried to make his way back to the vehicle, because apparently this thing, this cabin was like 6 miles away from where the SUV was found. So, you know, what I think is he tried to make his way back, but it was too much for him, and you know, he died from exposure, from the weather. You know, like I said, the whole foul play theory, you know, with this guy that owns the trailer, you know, that's interesting, and you know, it could be either or for me, I guess. You know, it's not for me. It wouldn't be one or the other, but I'm leaning towards the you know, that he had just passed away from the exposure, just because, you know, that makes sense, you know, that you know, he you know, traveled to the cabin and, you know, tried to get a fire, but he couldn't, so he tried to make his way back to his vehicle. Now you could go that this guy that owned the trailer, if he was involved, maybe found Don in the cabin and decided, you know, to take him back to his place and let him stay there till he kind of got back on his feet or something like that. You know, I don't know. It's just, I'm leaning toward, but like I said, I'm leaning towards the whole died from exposure theory. Just, that's what makes the most sense to me. But it is definitely fishy and eerie that this guy that owned the trailer kind of disappeared 3 weeks after his interrogation. Now, that's pretty much all I gotta say for this video right now. As usual, my Twitter and PSN links will be in the description. If you want to follow me on Twitter, add me on PSN, you can do that. Yeah, there's, like I said, you know, let me know in the comments what you think of this case. Let me know your theory. Do you think he met with foul play? Do you think he died with exposure, or from the exposure to the environment? And yeah, you know, like I said, that's pretty much all I got to say for this video right now. And you know, there may be another video tonight. Not too sure, but we'll see. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Wayward out.